What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be doing an unboxing for Solforge Fusion. I just got my hands on my product from the Kickstarter, and I wanted to open it with you guys and share my reaction to the cards that I have opened. So I've got three things here. I've got the Kickstarter starter deck, and then I've got a dice tin, and I've got a booster kit. So we're probably not going to be looking at the booster kit in today's video. There's probably going to be enough to look at in just the starter deck. And even more than that, so each of these boxes, the starter deck and the booster kit, are going to come with four half decks, four decks to open up. And I think I might make each of those its own separate video and have some ideas, but I feel like, so I've got two booster kits and then I've got the one starter deck, and I feel like it makes sense to roll that content out slowly over time. And basically what I'm thinking is each of these videos, this will have a little bit more meat in it because we're going to open up everything for the first time, but then I'm only going to look at one deck this video. And maybe you guys can vote on like which deck you want me to open up next. But the other thing, I'm probably just gonna, yeah, I guess you could do that. Which deck you want me to open up next. And then what we will also do is like, which decks do you want to see get paired together and have me play with and try out, and we can do some kind of interactive content like that. I'm also going to go ahead and just take this plastic wrap off of the booster tin just because it's a little bit noisy and I don't want that to distract from the rest of the stuff going on. But like I said, I've got one starter deck and then two booster kits, so 12 total half decks. That'll lead to a bunch of different combinations that I can make, but for now we will just focus on the starter deck, and that's going to have four half decks in it. So that's still a bunch of combinations, but if I want to play two of the decks against two of the other decks, then there's really only like three combinations that can be made. I'll probably try all of them out just for fun and for a little bit of content. But then as I get into the booster boxes, then you can say, oh, play this with that and swap these things out, and whatever synergies you guys think might be cool to take a look at. But for now, we are going to be taking a look at this starter deck. So I've got this 2-camera setup here. Hopefully everything is looking good on your end. I think it will. I've got a little bit of a light here. I'm not sure if that is obnoxious or if that is great. So hopefully that allows you guys to see everything clearly. But we can take a look here at the contents of the deck. Hopefully this QR code isn't like a spoiler and allows you guys to steal all my decks. I can't imagine that would be the case, and I'll get them uploaded before I make this video live. But that is the kind of cool part of Solforge Fusion 2, is that all of the decks are going to have a QR code on them, and then you can upload them to store them to your digital collection to play on Tabletop Simulator, and also track how well each deck performs. And this deck this box, like I said, is going to include 4 of those half faction decks, 2 game boards, which I think are just going to be like a glossy paper that kind of show where you can place your cards. I probably won't play with it when I'm not recording, but I might use it while I am recording videos if it doesn't make the table look too messy. It might be too much. We'll see how that looks. And then 12 minion cards. That's important if you have cards that are creating tokens effectively. And 25 mini tracker cards, which I believe are going to be replaced instead by the dice in this tin. So we'll look at those dice when we get to those trackers. But for now, I want to open this baby up and see what is inside. This is probably going to be the easiest way to get this thing open here. Let's just slice out this plastic, and it looks like the top of it just removes pretty easily. We can probably get in just like that now. All right, great. Let's set this aside too. So there we go. And yes, looks like this top is just going to come right off now. So here we go, my first look at a Solforge Fusion starter deck. And what do we have? Okay, nothing in there. Just white backed, and then okay, a little bit of just plastic on that. Here are the. I'll hold it up here too. I feel like we might get a better look at this. The first thing we see is the paper playmats, and yeah, it's like a glossy plastic finish, and you get 2 of these. So let me hold this up. How's that looking? Can't hold it up super cleanly, but one thing that I am going to do is set this down here. So now this is our new backdrop for this video even too. So we'll get a good look at this throughout this video, and this just kind of has all of your parts of your deck on it. Now, interestingly, compared to the tabletop simulator version, because this is basically all of the art assets from Tabletop Simulator. First thing I'm noticing, not sure if this is a mistake or not, but your banish pile isn't going to, like, this is only half as big as it's supposed to be. I feel like in the Forge card, all of these things are supposed to, like, keep going a little bit and maybe got cut off, and that's on both sides. So that part is a little bit weird. And you know, the other thing that I'm just now thinking is it did say that there's 25 cards. If let's take a look back at the back of the box here. So 25 mini tracker cards. It doesn't say anything about getting a Forge card in here, but I'd assume that there is a Forge card somewhere in here. And to be honest, as I was taking those out of the box, I noticed that in the Alloyin half deck, the back of that contains the Forge card. So that's where that is. That is indeed in here. And what do we want to look at next? We've got one more of these. We can see if it's the same thing, actually, because there is that weird printing thing, if they line up exactly the same, and it looks like they do. Yeah, these are going to be the exact same thing. And again, like, you can see, here's where it's probably the most easy to see. So this is where you put one of your piles of upgraded cards, and then here's where you put your other pile of upgraded cards before the game starts. So that's a little bit awkward as far as just quality control. Maybe it's intentional. They want to give you as big of a game mat as possible to play with. But yeah, definitely a little bit awkward there, I think. And we can lay this stuff out here too. So we've got the Alloyin deck. And we're going to get one card spoiled for each of these decks. I think it'll probably be a common on the front of each deck to start out the video. But yeah, like I said, it looks like, I mean, the lanes perfectly fit the cards. That is all scaled up correctly. It just looks like the overall mat is a little bit too small. And if I'm comparing it to my play mat, which I have in front of me, which is a typical size that everybody's going to be used to, it's shorter than the playmat. I don't know if, yeah, you can see that right here. The playmat keeps going a little bit in that direction. So it's a little bit shorter than the playmat on both ends. It looks like they could have extended it. It is just a slightly bit taller than the playmat. But yeah, just in terms of to give you a size, it's about the size of a playmat. It's about an inch taller, and then I would say 2 inches shorter on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches shorter. So maybe 5 to 6 inches less wide, skinnier, and 1 inch taller in terms of size. So we've got the 4 decks, and then we also have the tokens and the tracker cards, which are basically the equivalent of using dice. And I probably won't ever use these because I did get the dice. I probably wouldn't imagine most players will use these. They'll just prefer to use dice. Even if they didn't get the dice with the set, they'll just use their own dice that they have from other games and things. Though that is something to know if you're just planning on purchasing just the deck as a standalone product to kind of play it like a board game, because I feel like that is a totally respectable way to purchase this product. That's potentially how I'm looking at it. That you know, you just purchase it and then you've got a nice 2-player board game to play with your friends, and if either of you want to spend some money to update it, like a board game expansion, like you would do with that, then that is also a possibility. So let's go ahead and put these decks to the side. We are going to put those to the side, and one thing that I want to bring up too is that on the back of this box, we see a Scorchmane Dragon, one of the premier Solforge cards. So here we go. Oh, I'm zooming in a little bit too much, but no, that's fine, because what I wanted to look at is that it has a haiku. So some of the cards have a haiku that is completed on the flavor text in italics on the bottom of the card. And I did submit a flavor text for Scorchmane Dragon in particular, and it was selected as one of 3 different haikus that will appear on Scorchmane Dragon. And unfortunately, I didn't make the back of the box. So definitely, you know, not gonna get my shout out there, but maybe I'm gonna open up a Scorchmane Dragon in one of these boxes, and then maybe if that happens, it will have the haiku that I submitted. So that is the other thing that I'm looking for. And I guess one other thing that we can look at too, if we just take a look at these 4 decks, they're all going to have, oh, let's zoom out again. They're all going to have generated names here. And we can see that the Palladium Hintermind down at the bottom there, it's called Engineers of Drinking and Swearing. Then we have Abraxa's Bartering Mages, the Hunters of Looking, right above my thumb there on the bottom of the card, and the Rulers of Fooling Third Walkers. So sometimes you could potentially get a deck, I believe, that has NoLucksGiven somewhere in there. And these are all kind of randomly generated too, with that use some user submitted data to collect that. So I don't know which one of these we're going to open in this video. Maybe we'll roll a die after we get to the die part of it, though. Looking at it, this video is already probably 15 minutes long or so. Maybe it's only 10 minutes long. Maybe this will be a 13-part series. Opening this up, looking at all the stuff inside, and then we'll get into all the decks. So I think that's probably how I'm going to divide it up, just to make it a little bit more watchable. But now we are going to get into the tokens and what are they called? Tracker cards. So how do we open up this thing? Oh, this might actually just be sealed. I was thinking this would have glue on it, but I think this is just a sealed package. So no way to, because there's no like cardboard on any of these things. They're just expecting you to have your own means to store these decks. There's no way to like put everything back in the box in any real way. So that is kind of another thing to pay attention to. If you are planning on using this like a board game, it's really not going to have any means to store it. You're going to have to come up with that on your own. but that's also part of the fun, I think, for a lot of people to have their own like deck boxes and stuff, and how many people were going to use this anyways. You could potentially use this tin. I don't know. Well, you'll use the tin for the dice, I guess, so you won't throw a deck in there. But let's cut this thing open here. Let's see. I might need better scissors, to be honest, but okay, that's enough. I got a little tear on that. And like I said, this is going to have all of our token cards. So I believe it's going to be, okay, 3 of each, one that has a different art. So we can go ahead and line some of these up. But I'll put so on the left, we'll have the 1 of art, and then there's 2 of the arts for both of the things on the right. Now I will just show these off a little bit here. And that looks to be the case, yes. So these are tokens that the different decks can make, and I don't know if, I guess in the starter deck, so let me see, it says 12 minion cards, so that would be 3 times 4 here. And so this is probably all of the minion cards that you get, and looking at the cards in the starter deck, well, okay, here's the weird thing. So that's what I thought. The Utera deck, the green deck, has a Mega Gizmo on the back of it, which is the kind of upgraded form of the alternate art for the Gizmo token. So maybe there are going to be some more tokens that you get in the starter decks. Maybe those are random. If we take a look at what is in the starter decks, we've got the Mega Gizmo, we've got the Forge token, we've got a little rules card that says some keywords, and then we have another Forge token, actually. Okay, so 1 for both players. That makes sense. Did not think about that. So I don't know if underneath of these there's going to be additional tokens, additional rules cards, or anything like that. But that is something to look forward to in the coming videos. There doesn't seem to be anything else in terms of rules or anything like that, but I did see last night that Solforge has, or Stoneblade, I should say, or let's not pick these up just yet, that Stoneblade has a bunch of like 1-minute tutorials on their YouTube channel that I have not watched, but I have to imagine are a pretty good resource. Those are like brand new videos as well. So, oops, I hit the camera there. And yeah, that is probably something that a lot of players will be able to utilize if they're brand new to the game. It just says, to find out more, including how to play. This is just on the back of the box here. Find out more, including how to play, go to solforgefusion.com. So that's all going to be online, which is fine because it allows them to keep updating the rules digitally as a resource, and it's not like the internet is hard to come by when you are playing your games. Yeah, it can be awkward to watch like YouTube tutorials when you're like at a party or something, and if this is like a party board game, it might be a little bit more strategical than just like a party game, and it's only a 2 to 4 player game, but could still certainly work as a party game, I think. And yeah, let's finish up taking a look at these tokens, then we'll take a look at the tracker cards and the dice, and then we'll end the video. And you can stay tuned for the next one. Probably upload the next video this same day, and we can crack open one of those decks as well, because that is what I am excited to do. But for now, let's just look at, because all of these also have an upgraded version. So basically the way that this works, these actual cards won't upgrade, but you might play a level 2 Alloyin card and it generates a gizmo. Then when you level up that card, it will play, you'll play the level 3 version, and the level 3 will say create a mega gizmo in one of your lanes. So all of this is pretty straightforward if you've seen any of my Solforge Fusion videos up until this point, and you'll also notice that the level 1 minions, or the base forms of the minions, are considered level 1 right here, and then when you upgrade them they've got a different coloring and they are considered level 2. I'm noticing like the centering a little bit off. I don't particularly care about stuff like that. Some players will even say that they like it more. I don't. I think it's fine either way, but I guess I could see players either liking or not liking if that comes to their actual decks. So we'll see if that is a thing when we get to the actual decks. Some players just think it adds a little bit more uniqueness to their own collection. But this is the tokens, or the minions as they're called. They're all called minion creatures. And one thing that's interesting, I feel like they used to be called creature-minion zombie. So I'm not sure if that's something that got changed or if that is something that I'm just misremembering. But there's like effects that I know that turn things into every creature type. And do those no longer turn creatures into minions? I'm not sure. That could be both an upside and a downside to be considered a minion. Here we have, these are really small, half cards even. I guess we can look at them compared to a full card. Yeah, and those are like a, I guess those are just about half of a card here. A little bit smaller. That's what I thought. So these are our tracker cards, and this is what we'll use to show that things have gained and lost life here. And it looks like that is a little bit too zoomed in. So it looks like the tracker cards will probably have half for health and half for attack. And the attack numbers get to go pretty wild. But the health numbers, we have this card which says +1 or +2, depending on which way you flip it. So you would do something like this on it, assumedly. You would say that, okay, mindless zombie has taken 2 damage and then has 1 health. And if you even wanted to use it on the zombie brute, then you could say, okay, it's taken 2 damage and then it has taken 4 damage. And that's kind of the way that you would use these here. And then with the dice, you can either do the same thing, or, so with a die, you could represent this by grabbing one of the green die and just putting a 4 on it to represent 4 damage. Or I think that the way that's most oftenly going to be used is you'd represent this by taking a green die and just putting it at 2. So that way you represent that it's got 2 health left. But these mini tracker cards, and then the same thing. You can, the reason that they're half cards too is you can put this here. So now this has -10 attack and then plus or -2 health. And we'll see, I'm assuming that some of the attack cards are bonus attack as well, because I feel like you're more likely to get bonus attack. But as far as health goes, we've got, let's zoom out here. We've got these which are -2 and -1. That seems to be almost all of them, and that's probably going to be the more common thing. So we've got 9 of those, and then I've got 3 -5, -10s as far as health goes. And I think I can see some more in the back here, some more health ones. Okay, so those are going to be the plus. And then on the attack side of thing, we've got 3 -10, -5s. We can lay these out. Probably all going to be in packs of 3, I have to imagine, with this being a pack of 9. And then we've got, oh no, this breaks the convention because this is 5 and 5. But we've got 5 +2 +1 attacks, and then 5 +2 +1 healths. So that is what you're working with here. And then a little bit confusing because in the game, red kind of represents attack, and green represents health, but then they also have red representing down and green representing up, which is also definitely a way that I can see players utilizing the dice too. You could use the dice to say up or down, or you could use the dice to say attack or health, and yeah, a lot of interesting different ways. We'll see kind of how that develops. It will probably just be the way that I said before. Use the green die to represent current health and use the red dice to represent current attack if it differs from what is on the printed card. That's probably going to be the most common thing, but 25 of those there. So there we go. I'll put those aside here as well. And I should probably lay out everything at one point, but one last thing I want to look at in this video, this does not just come with the deck naturally, but this was something that you could additionally purchase on the Kickstarter, and I thought it would be good to pick up as well, just in terms of if I do wind up doing any in-person Solforge Fusion videos, that I will want to have access to like the official die. It'll just make it all look a little bit nicer, but you can use any D10s or D20s for the purpose of tracking your game with Solforge Fusion. But, and this is interestingly a resealable bag, so maybe I will throw the minions and the half tokens in here because these can just go right into the tin. But we've got some dice, and again, I guess we're seeing more on the health side of things because health will change more often. But we see 5 different red die, and then I have to imagine this is 10 green die. Yeah, so 15 die as well coming with it. And I will open this up because these look kind of cool as well. Just pour them into here. This little ASMR for you. Oh, one more red die. So these are reasonable numbers here just in terms of readability on the camera. The white on the light colored background does pop out pretty well, and the numbers are a fine size, but what is cool here too is that you also get this Forge token, and that is going to make them unique to your Solforge Fusion collection. And yeah, I think these are cool. I think that I will play with them. I might even want more because you're kind of expecting your opponent to have some die as well. And if I'm treating this like a board game, we can definitely get twice the number of die in this container. So we could fill it up with another set. Maybe I will see. I'm not sure if there's a way to still order these die in any capacity. But maybe there is. Maybe just the tin itself was the exclusive part, and the die are still going to be able to purchase. So that is basically it for this video. I'm going to lay everything out here again on the screen. We've got the trackers, we've got the tokens, we've got the 2 play mats, we've got the dice tin here, and then I've got the 4 mini decks, which I'll flip over to reveal 1 card each from them. And that is going to be it. Like I said, I'm going to be doing 12 follow-up videos to this one, each where I unpack a different deck and take a look at what's inside of it. I think that's going to be the best way to do this content. Yeah, and then I got one more playmat here as well. Like I said, I think that's going to be the best way to do this content, just so that way I can give all of the cards in each of the decks their fair share, because I want to be able to talk about all of these cards. Some of the things are going to be fairly straightforward, like the Tanimate, the spells don't really change, but if we take a look at each of these cards here on the front of the Necrium, Tempest, and Alloyin faction decks, each of these are fused cards, and that is a big part of Solforge Fusion. If you haven't seen it before, this is not just a fiend, this is a camouflaged fiend. And what that means is that it is made up of 2 half cards itself, it is taking a camouflaged modifier, which is probably where the stealth comes from, and adding it to the Fiend card, which is probably this: when this creature is destroyed, give one of your creatures +6/+6. So both of those effects are kind of being combined there into a single card. And that's going to mean that each card has a lot to talk about, because even though these are both commons, these are all commons, you might never see a Palladium Hintermind in your life. Is that what this is called? Yes, Palladium Hintermind. Or you may never see an Arrogant Giant. You might see an Arrogant Fiend, or you might see an Arrogant Hintermind, but you might not see these exact combinations of cards. So I want to give all of those their equal time to talk about all of them and all of the things that are in those. So stay tuned for more Solforge Fusion content. I'm also going to be having games in the future as well, not just the unboxing stuff, but all of my friends and my partner were both like, oh, well, you have to do unboxing videos now with all this stuff to get the YouTube stuff going. And it's basically like pack openings and stuff, but a little bit different in that, like, you'll be able to see me play with these exact decks in the future. So getting to know them a little bit and getting familiar with them will be cool if you want to follow upcoming Solforge Fusion content. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.